Good evening. Welcome to the Councillors Candidate Debate for Ward 5. My name is Mary Trebb, and I'm here on behalf of the Greater Sudbury Taxpayers Association. We have organized these meetings for each of the wards in Greater Sudbury and have been most delighted with the turnout that we have received and the interest shown by the residents of the city. My cohort and I, Bernie Bellin, are going to be running this evening's debate, where you will have a chance to learn more about the gentlemen here who are going to be running for the privilege of representing you for the next 4 years. We feel at GSTA that the best kind of voter is an informed voter. One who knows what the issues are, one who knows what their councillors are and what they stand for, and in so knowing, you will be able to cast your vote in a meaningful way so that Greater Sudbury can move forward in a fiscally accountable, transparent, and positive manner. Please listen carefully to the debate and feel free to submit any questions that you have on the papers. We will pass them on to this evening's moderator, and we will try to ask as many questions as possible, but time, as you are aware, is limited. Please enjoy this evening, and please remember to go out and vote. I would like you to remember one last thing. Would you please turn off your cell phones so that we do not have any interruptions during the debate? And I will now turn the microphone over to our moderator, Randy Pascal.
There we go. Is it coming through a little bit? Can you hear it clearly enough at the far end? Yeah. Now we're good? Okay. I'll give the gentleman up front. Oh, yes it did. You're correct. I suspect the batteries on this thing are probably dying out. Because the light's red. Probably not a good thing. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. There it goes. Okay. While we're working on that, I will talk very loudly. Can you still hear me okay at the back? Good. Just by way of very quick outline as to how this evening will work, I'm going to be introducing all 5 candidates in just a moment. What we've done is the candidates all have 4 prepared questions that they were all given prior to the debate. They each will have 2 minutes to answer each of those questions. There's also a 1-minute rebuttal, and it just works its way right through the line. That'll be the opening kind of half of the debate, if you will, going through those questions. As those questions are going through, after that, we probably will break for a couple of minutes, and then we go into the second part of the debate, which is where we open it to the questions that you may have. If you have specific questions, we would ask that you put them on paper, and at that point, we're going to go through them and try to get as many of them asked as we can. Please try to keep the questions open to all 5 candidates, so avoid questions that can only be answered by one person if possible, please. And I think that's about it. That one,
let's see. That one sounds better. Yep, good. And is it loud enough still? There we go. Okay, so with no further ado, let me first of all introduce to you in alphabetical order the 5 gentlemen who are seeking your votes this evening. Starting with, to my immediate left is Monsieur Joseph Berthelot. To my right, Bob Kerwin. My far right, Richard Larche. Over second to my left is John Lundergan. And finally, over to the far left, Mr. Kent McNeil. And I didn't mess up my outfit, I don't think. So, first, on to the first set of questions. To the candidates, what would you do to attract business and development to the city of Greater Sudbury? They're sitting in the order that they will be answering, so I will pass the microphone over to Kent first. You are correct. It's not on the agenda. Thank you.
opening remarks you got.
Well, good evening, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out to this very important democratic event this evening to learn about the candidates who wish to represent you for the next 4 years in Ward 5. My name is Ken McNeil, and since 2002, my family and I have lived on Percy Avenue, just down the road. I'm a husband and father to 2 girls who attend Jean-Paul II, so I'm happy to be in familiar territory for the debate. What experience do I bring to the table? I served a 3-year term in northwestern Ontario in the township of Manitouwadge during the very difficult Bob Rae social contract days. Tough decisions had to be made, and I made them. I also served as the chairperson of the Health Planning Committee, whose goal was to secure funding and the construction of a new hospital. I'm proud to say that the hospital was built and was one of the last capital projects granted by the Rae government. Today, I serve as the union president of the English Catholic Elementary and Occasional Teachers here in Sudbury. I've been elected or acclaimed to 5 consecutive 2-year terms. With this experience, what sort of skills do I bring? I bring a knowledge of rules of order and parliamentary procedure, which is something very important for all councillors to understand the workings of the local government. It is indeed a very steep learning curve. I also have extensive experience in negotiation of collective agreements, problem solving, conflict resolution, and working as a team player in the advancement of initiatives, guidelines, and projects. Ladies and gentlemen, our city needs a cooperative and collaborative council. Our city needs team players with a strong voice and strong leadership, not bravado and ego. Our city needs change. It needs it now, and it needs to move forward. I bring experience, leadership, and strong voice to the table. I hope you'll honor me with the privilege of representing you as councillor for Ward 5. Let's put the great back in the greater Sudbury. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Undergan, and I was born and raised right here in Balcarron on Fall Street. I attended high school at St. Charles Confederation, right across the street, and I went on to study journalism and photography at Cambridge College. I've been married to my lovely wife Denise for 15 years. We have 1 boy named Riley and a 127-pound Newfoundland dog who thinks she likes to sit on our laps. Now, in college, I learned photography and rudimentary politics from a German expat who escaped from Germany during the Holocaust, and that all happened during the Bob Rae era. Journalism taught me, regardless of my political choices, how to become nonpartisan and choose with the citizens' best intentions in mind. After college, I pursued a career in the mining industry and settled at Falconbridge, where I've been for 12 years. I pride myself on being a man of high moral ethics and standards, and I will champion the drive to bring honesty back to City Hall. And I would love nothing more than to earn your trust and prove it to you. I'm running for council because I believe now, more than ever, it's time for a changing of the guard. The mining industry has taught me one main thing, and that is to be a team player. I've also learned to see the bigger picture, and I've learned to communicate and work well with others in a productive, proactive manner. Now is the time for change. I see a greater Sudbury that is thriving. I see a city where business will come to stay and people will come to relax and play. I see a city that will attract students to continue their post-secondary education, and a city that will act as a hub for major industry, not just mining. A city where seniors can breathe clean air, have great services, and affordable housing all at their fingertips. I see performing artists flourish, a city filled with music, and sports teams winning championships. I see a place where our children will be able to continue to live, work, and raise their families here, as I am doing mine. And I would like to see it all done with the best services to cost ratio than any other city in the country. I am the man who will give you the answers you need to hear, not the answers you want to hear. Because that's the right and honest thing to do. Thank you.
Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue à cette soirée d'information que j'espère va vous donner une meilleure appréciation de vos candidats et ceux qui les représentent. Welcome to all. My name is Joe Bertolo. I'm 68 years old, married to Lise Poirier for 38 years. I have 4 children, 5 grandchildren. I have lived in Sudbury since 1968. I grew up in a family of 13. I'm French Catholic, and I worked for 30 years at Falconbridge Limited, retiring as a mine planning technologist. I have been retired for 13 years. I am a Knight of Columbus in Pleasant Valley, Vice President of Club Amical in Sudbury, where I volunteer, encouraging our older folks to come and enjoy friends and participate in many activities the club provides. I am running for council in Ward 5 because I'm very proud of Sudbury, the town, its people. Since I'm retired, I have the time to devote for you, the ward. I intend to serve you to the best of my ability. I stand for good government, greater citizen participation, improved accountability, and effective town planning. Thank you. Merci.
My name is Bob Kerwin. You can find everything about my background on the website, but basically I was born in Coniston, raised in the mining town of Lively, and I met my wife who was born and raised in Creighton. So I'm very familiar with the mining industry and with the needs of the mining community. We purchased our home in the Valley back in 1974, and we're still in that home. I taught 23 of my 28 years in the Valley and got to really start to know what the family needs and the priorities were living in the Valley. And I think that's where I got to know that the Valley was really a family-focused community. I also spent 2 years teaching at St. Jerome's School, which is just behind the Co-op Bureau home in Sudbury. And I really got to know and understand the people in that part of Ward 5. And it was an interesting experience and one that I've never forgotten. In my class, I had students who came from families of doctors, and I had students who were going home to parents who were prostitutes and drug dealers. And it was all in the same classroom. And I got to know that part of town, and the needs are very different. So raising 3 sons in the Valley, we're involved in all the sports, all the organizations. I got to see what it was like as a parent. My oldest son is still in the Valley. I am now seeing the needs of the family from the eyes of a grandparent, and it's a very different perspective. As I have written for the Valley Vision for 9 years, I got to know all the organizations. When I was working at the Hanner Valley Shopping Center, I got to know all of the organizations and their needs. The past 4 years as trustee with the Rainbow District School Board, I'm getting a different perspective on the family. So when I looked at my situation, I said, now is the time to either accept the status quo or accept responsibility for changing, and that's why I'm here today.
Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Larshay, and I am running for Ward 5 Council. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, je m'appelle Richard Larshay, je me présente comme représentant candidat du quartier 5. I have been married to my wife, Suzanne, for 32 years, and we have 2 children, Audrey and Justin, as well as 2 daughter-in-laws and 1 grandson. In 1984, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident in which I broke my neck and suffered a spinal cord injury. Doctors said I would never walk again, but here I am today before you. I recently retired from my job as a probation parole officer, which I did for nearly 33 years. As a probation parole officer, my responsibility was to supervise clients who were placed on various court orders. As well, my responsibility was to enforce the conditions of the order and assist the clients in any way I could by needing counseling or referring them to the appropriate agencies. I'm very aware of the agencies that are in the community. As well, I was involved with my unit of OPSU for 25 years, where I was local president for as long as that time. As well, I was elected executive board member. I was a pension trustee for a fund that was over $300 million, and I was a human rights representative. In the community, I've always been involved. This is where I was born and raised, as well as my children. I was involved with the Valley Soccer Association for a number of years, both as a coach and as an executive director. In the community, one of my passions is that I have been an advocate for persons with disabilities. I've fought for them, I've advocated for them. What you will see in me is proof of leadership.
I hope I don't have to do that too often. But as you can already tell, we are following the 2-minute limit in fairness to all candidates very closely. For those that are just walking in late, the yellow flag, if you will, signals that the candidates have 30 seconds remaining. So to start wrapping it up, by the time the red one, we will let them finish their sentence, as long as it's not a run-on sentence. Okay, we're on to the questions. Starting with Kent again. What would you do to attract business and development to the city of Greater Sudbury?
Thank you. Sudbury is in a very unique geographical area. We're on the Trans-Canada Highway and we're at the top of the 400 corridor. It just makes sense that Sudbury is the hub for business in Northern Ontario. We have one of the biggest mining operations in the world, with the spin-off economies on mining equipment, mining technology, mining services. We can attract not only mining investment in this city, but all sorts of other businesses. The problem is we have obstacles to development. We have development charges that are way too high to encourage people to set up here. We have too much red tape and bureaucracy. In speaking with different developers, to get started in Sudbury takes far too much. We need to cut the red tape. We need to cut the duplication of service, and we need to start sharing our data and our information more readily online so people can search Sudbury as a place for doing business, a place for setting up. Right now, there are communities south of us that you can click on a spot online and see how much it would cost to develop that property. We have nothing close to that in Sudbury. Anyone I talk to as far as developing, it's like going into Fort Knox trying to get information out of the city. The taxpayers have paid for that information. The taxpayers have paid for the collection of it and the storage of it. The taxpayers own that information. We need to start getting that information out. The use of the Economic Development Corporation to provide seed money and tax incentives is another way we can encourage businesses to start up. Once they're started, they're here, we'll get jobs off of that, and development will continue to spiral off of that. We need to do a better job, and we need to start now.
Thank you. I will work with City Council and City staff to create a business-friendly environment with non-obtrusive business regulations. I will work to offer minimal taxes and tax breaks for hiring a large workforce from within our community. We will make significant investment in the community as is important to business owners considering one region or another. I will work to reduce red tape so business owners have more money and more time to invest in their business. Entrepreneurs move to cities where they know they have the best chance and access to capital and a skilled workforce. In order to carry out their business plans, investors and cities like to keep their money close to home. So I will cooperate with local businesses and professionals to create an economic development team. We will work closely with potential investors and promote the fact that our city invests in people and good ideas. We start with lower investment taxes, a stronger, more educated workforce, a more workable city, and we advertise on the www. Sudbury is not just local, we're not just provincial or national. We have to sell ourselves to the world. Thank you.
Believe it or not, to build a house between two empty houses in Sudbury, you have to start up with $14,000 to just peel to the city coffers. And then you have to buy the building permit and start building. You've already spent almost $20,000 and you haven't done it. This is ridiculous. Another thing, I would start by taking care of the businesses presently in our industrial parks. After hearing that Elizabeth Street businesses receive 30% of the required water to possibly put out a fire, they are prevented from expanding because of this fact. They are paying and have been paying their taxes as if the service was there. We have a similar industrial park at the west end of Valcarron. And is the city pushing for development in that area? No. I haven't seen a new business opening there in quite a while. To attract new business, we, the city, have to put out an incentive to companies to be seen on the radar. We can't just say, hey guys, we have the room. There's room all over Ontario. They have to be encouraged in some way.
So right now, we know that new businesses are not coming to Sudbury, and we know the housing industry is at a standstill. So this means we're not receiving municipal tax revenue, our industrial parkland is sitting idle, and developers are moving out of town because of the high fees associated with developments. So what I'm going to be doing is introducing and recommending a 3-point stimulus plan immediately and simultaneously beginning in the new year. First point, I'm going to suggest that we eliminate the development charge for new houses, apartments, and commercial development. Secondly, I'm going to recommend that we eliminate the fees that are charged to new developers for off-site expenses. What that means is they would only be required to pay for the infrastructure on their property. Currently, there's a development in Valcarron ready to go, but he has to put in $2 million before he puts a shovel in the ground. He would put the shovel in the ground if he didn't need that $2 million. What that is going to do is create an economic stimulus where we're going to get new houses built immediately, new apartments, new businesses. There will be new tax revenue coming in from the houses that we would have had to wait for years to be developed and built. And we've really looked at the Sudbury Home Builders Association to come up with this information. And what they're showing is that we should have 300 more homes being built this year. We only have 200. That's 300 times $5,000 in taxes that could be coming in. So that economic stimulus, it may look on the surface as if we're going to be giving up revenue from development charges, but what we're going to be doing is getting increased revenue from municipal taxes that are ongoing forever. We don't have to wait years for this to happen. This economic stimulus will also create more well-paying jobs, stimulate the construction industry, and stimulate growth in the city. It's time to take action and not just talk.
Well, first of all, sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. What is a greater Sudbury area known for the most? Tourism and mining. We've got the facilities now, and we need to expand on those. But I think what we need to do as well is to put the emphasis on our tourism assets that we have out here. You know, when you consider the fact that we have over 300 lakes in the greater Sudbury area, and that's something we need to emphasize. Whether we do it through WWW, we also have 2 colleges, one francophone and one anglophone. We have university. We have the medical school of arts. We have an architecture school that's being built. Those are all positives that we need to highlight. But what makes us so unique is the fact that we are a multicultural community, in which also means our workforce is multicultural. We have a thriving francophone community as well, so which makes us unique again. You know, we've heard so far and that we need to reduce the red tape. That's fine. But you know, I've been going around the industrial park and other businesses and finding out what they're saying is that new businesses should, and I agree with it, that they should have the tax freeze when they first set up, because usually that's their most expensive time, is setting up and getting going, getting the business going. We talked about development charges. We have to realize that we can't eliminate them altogether because the development charges are part of it's a source of revenue. And if the city has less money, we have less money for our services. So we can't forget that. But yes, we can look at them to reduce them. There's no doubt about it. You know, the other thing we can do is that we can look at some of the recommendations that were made by in the auditor's report in order to save money. That's a hell of a good place to start from. There are some good savings in there, and we need to review them and start implementing them. You know, we want a research center from the hospital. That's what the hospital's